How have your real-life love triangles played out? None of us ended up with any of us, and a whole new set of friends had to be found. Had a thing with a guy, he proceeds to kiss best friend. I forgive them both, they proceed to make out in secret, and got to the point where he asked her to go to bed with him. They cracked and told me again. This had not been the first time something like this had happened with my friend. Needless to say, he no longer had a love interest after that, and I lost a crappy friend, which I guess is a win in the end. I've never understood the whole go after a friend's significant other thing. I once had a former boyfriend's roommate hit on me after we'd broken up, and even that felt weird and off-putting. Oh, I've got one. Dated a guy, really liked him. Maybe was reaching love levels. He then cheats on and dumps me for another girl. Great. Literally the next week, his best friend, who was not at all my type, was messaging me and was reassuring me that my ex told him he would be perfect for me and encouraged him to try to date me. I cut them both out of my life so fast. I had a friend in high school who'd always try to hit on or steal my significant others, even if she didn't like them at all. She just didn't want me getting all the attention. She even did it with new friends. Had a best friend since college who was always hawking on my boyfriends. Then I decided to switch things up and date a woman. She flirted with her too. Then I realized it wasn't just about competing. There was some strange thing she had for me, or against me. I could never figure it out. Anyway, we're not friends anymore, but we are cordial when we see each other. The female competition thing really bums me out. 3 of my friends and I all liked the same girl. They would hit on her. I instead befriended her older and very protective brother. I got the girl. Did he befriend the brother solely to win the girl? No, he's actually a super interesting guy in his own right. A very successful entrepreneur who has worked in the most dangerous countries on Earth, doing absolutely insane crap, i.e. selling helicopters in Brazil or protecting coal ships from pirates. What the frick is that dude's job title? Ron Swanson. Color me pleasantly surprised that he genuinely befriended the guy to be a pal, and not just to use him in a sort of male-dominated medieval family dynamic to get approval to court his sister. I worked offshore. I knew I was going to be gone for a few months. Girlfriend said she wanted to wait since I was such a great guy. I came back and she was the same number of months pregnant that I had been gone. We'd always used protection, so I was skeptical but supportive. She had the kid and it was a different race than either of us. She admitted that while I'd been gone, she had had another boyfriend, then added that she was still seeing him. Acted like it was completely normal, as if it would have been crazy for her to stay alone like she'd offered to. DNA test? Not mine. Nope, the F out. Other guy goes to prison a few months later. Rumor mill says he was a mean-tempered and bullying spouse. She stalked me for decades, called my parents to find me, called my grandparents to find me. I'd see her around town and she would start following me and begging me to give her another chance. I eventually moved 700 miles away. She still calls, unlisted numbers to this day because of her. She gets the number from family or friends. Last I heard, she has 3 kids with 3 dads, never had a job, 2 of the dads in prison. I'm her one that got away. In some ways, I do feel sad for her. She's had a rough life. According to her, I was the only guy who treated her well. If she'd reciprocated, who knows? Our romance was in 1996. I got a message from her on Facebook last month. I didn't reply. Man, if she'd applied half of that drive and persistence into developing stable relationships with a good guy that returned her interest, she'd have a great life right now. Well, I mean, technically, she's trying to do that. My dude dodged a tsunami with that girl. Was dating a guy, he confessed to one of his best friends that he liked her. She rejected him. Was mad because I was second choice, but forgave because frick my life. He still likes her and she messes with him. They fight because she doesn't want me around. They become friends again, I dump him. He admits to never loving me and was in it for the act of a relationship. Now he's all over her and she still plays him. I'm here sad because I loved him. Rest in peace, me. I hope you feel better. I know exactly how it feels to be used. I always wonder what people are thinking when they pull this crap. It will get better, I promise you. Keep on keeping on, friend. Was being manipulated by a guy 7 years older than me. He was gaslighting me and stringing me along. His girlfriend and baby mama knew about me, but stayed with him and blamed me for everything. I eventually cut him off and they got married. She messaged me on Facebook about a year ago, asking if we'd slept together while they were married. I hadn't, and she apologized for putting everything on me. It was unfair for her to do because I was so young, 19 when it started, and he was manipulating me and taking advantage of how naive I was. She explained that she had kicked him out and was beginning divorce proceedings because I wasn't the only one he cheated on her with, and he continued to cheat on her after they were married, including with her next-door neighbor. We ended up talking and laughing over what a scumbag loser he is, and laughing over the fact that we fell for his crap. I recently messaged her to ask how the divorce turned out. It's over, she came out on top, and me and her are friendly now. I was in college and I really liked this college guy in one of my classes. We instantly hit it off and became great friends. I really liked him. I was head over heels and he knew it. He was still hung up on his ex-girlfriend, but we fooled around from time to time. A guy from my high school kept asking me out and I kept turning him down. He wasn't my type, but we remained friends. All of my friends were telling me to give high school guy a chance, but I wanted college guy. I got super sick and texted college guy asking if he could take me to the hospital. He never replied, but I know he read it. So I texted high school guy and he was at my apartment in 10 minutes and even offered to pay my copay because I was flat broke at the time. I did pay him back. After that happened, college guy wouldn't talk to me for a while and like an idiot I kept going after him. I was super heartbroken. High school guy helped me through it. Finally, I decided to give him a shot. Now we're married and about to celebrate our 7-year anniversary with our 3-year-old son. When you say he wasn't your type, what specifically do you mean by that? Seems like he was your type after all. Not the original writer, but I do have a similar story of giving the other guy a chance and it working out. Me and the significant other are going on 5 years. My significant other was not my type. At the time. I figured it out once I started dating him and that what I thought was my type wasn't really my type. Don't knock it until you try it sort of thing. Hey, at least the high school guy's patience paid off. What a truly nice gentleman. All 3 of us now hate each other with the fury of 1,000 suns and wouldn't particularly care if the other 2 died of Lou Gehrig's disease. So not too bad, all things considered. I included the simple summary of a love triangle just because it seems like a concise summary of how the majority of these things have to play out. This is a story of a love square versus a love triangle, but it's pretty crazy. I had been living together with my girlfriend for maybe 6 months, together for maybe a year. She cheated pretty bad, but I don't know the depths of it. But at least 2 guys. She would tell me how much she loves me every 30 seconds, which made me believe that she was loyal. She didn't discuss other men, not as friends or anything, all silence. I'm not the jealous type at all, so I normally just trust and assume it's all good until it isn't. Nobody got caught, she just secretly planned to move in with one of the guys and surprise moved out one day. Not such a great feeling coming into an empty home. Took years to even learn of what transpired. She'd had a tough childhood and always told people the gruesome story of her mum dying at the hands of her father, with specifically her mum's eye dangling from the socket. Fast forward 1.5 years and I'm living with a new girlfriend and I share the eye dangling story and a light bulb goes off in her head. We piece together what happened. When I was living with cheating girlfriend, we had some drama. She'd broken up with me, got with a guy, then came back to me, in addition to other trust-eroding issues, so I was basically not interested in doing the deed with her due to a lack of trust. Cheating girlfriend apparently was sleeping with the boyfriend of what would be my girlfriend in 1.5 years. Boyfriend of future girlfriend says, "Oh hey, I know this girl, she's had a tough life," and tells the whole mum dying story with specifically the dangling eye, which is how we figured it out, and goes on, "She needs a place to stay, can she stay with us?" She's worried her roommate is going to commit the unspeakable act against her. My future girlfriend calls him out that he's cheating with her, since he has a history of cheating and he admits it, so obviously she did not stay with them. Honestly, the cheating I don't mind as much as calling me a roommate and the potential unspeakable act committer when I thought I was in love with this girl, claiming to be my girlfriend and wanting to settle down with me. In conclusion, my girlfriend at the time had an ex-boyfriend that cheated on her with the girl I was seeing who cheated on me. Also, before I'd met my girlfriend at the time, apparently I'd had a dalliance with her childhood best friend. Had no idea. I didn't actually do anything wrong since that predated our relationship, but I still feel like a jerk about it between those 2 sordid bits of history. My bedroom life included maybe 5 people in a period of 2 years and 3 of them are all intertwined like this. It's crazy. Kinda related, but my Aunt Janet was cheated on by my Uncle John with a girl Kate. Kate was cheating with John on her husband Brandon. Now Kate and John are getting married, and Janet and Brandon are getting married. Basically, they switched partners. All fake names, of course. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and subscribe. I was on a work contract on location. I met a guy, started dating and things were good. One day he told me his ex was going to be in town for a day and then they were going to hang out. That night we were supposed to meet for drinks at the pub and he was super distant and acting strange. It was obvious to me that he'd hooked up with her. He ended up leaving early to go to bed, alone. I was teed off. There was another guy also working for the company who'd always flirted with me. I happened to literally run into him as I'm headed outside to the balcony. Maybe it was something I was giving off, but he grabbed me and kissed me, and I went with it, and we ended up hooking up that night on the balcony, which also happened to be the place me and the first guy hooked up the first time. The next day, Guy 1 confesses that he hooked up with his ex. I told him I could tell and kind of left it at that. We just started hanging out less, and I started seeing a lot more of Guy 2. One day, it was quite apparent that they both weren't talking to me. They had talked. I rode up the elevator with one of their co-workers one day who told me that they were both upset that I'd hooked up with both of them in the same location, which frankly, I still think is silly. They ended up making friends, but I was out of the picture. Last week of my contract rolls around, and one particular party night, Guy 1 is giving me a lot of attention. Guy 2 also sees this going on. I end up leaving with Guy 1. At my place, the phone rings, and it's Guy 2, and he asks to speak to Guy 1. They're both from the same country, so they end up having some long drawn-out conversation that I don't understand. 10 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. It's Guy 2. He asks to come in. I let him, and they both proceed to start kissing me and removing my clothes. That was a good night. Not so much a love triangle as a love V, but here's how it went. I liked this girl. This girl had a boyfriend, but was bi-curious and into me. She asked her boyfriend if experimenting with me was okay. He said it was okay so long as he was involved too. Me being 21 and having a bad case of the feelings, I agreed to this. It lasted maybe a month and it was really awkward. It ended up with me breaking up with them, but those two staying together. After that, I decided I'm not into guys at all and I would rather not repeat that experience. I don't talk to that pair much anymore, but I think they're married now. Yeah, I think most of the love triangles in my life that I've run into could be described as love Vs, i.e. one sad loser on the side has a crush on one of the parties. Luckily, there are a couple of true love triangles to help us fulfill the question in this video's heading. A few years back, I had hernia surgery and was on bed rest for a few days. One night, out of nowhere, an old fling hit me up telling me she was in the neighborhood. I was ecstatic at hearing her voice because she was one of the most beautiful, intelligent, and successful people I knew, and I always admired her. She ended up coming over and taking care of me, and we hit it off way better than before. I didn't know it at the time, but she was dating this guy since forever and was even living with him. When I found out, I told her I was going to be seeing other people too. We still ended up seeing each other for a few months, and eventually she had to tell him that she had cheated on him with me. He wanted her to stay even after we spent a weekend at my cabin. She stayed with the other guy because he was a safe option and she needed a place to stay. I couldn't promise her anything because I felt like I couldn't trust her and she didn't like the fact that I was dating other people. In reality, we were in a relationship and I saw other people as a way to not think about her living with her boyfriend. The whole thing was a crappy situation because we were madly in love with each other, but because of our trust issues, we ended up breaking it off. I ended up in a relationship with someone else for like a month. We never really talked since then. She married that guy a few months after I married my wife. She still calls at night from time to time, but I never answer because I'm happily married and I don't need that kind of trouble in my life. Don't want to be intrusive, but no other way to ask. Does your wife know? How does she feel about this? No, I never really considered it worth mentioning. Prefer to let sleeping dogs lie. Ha, wise move. Was a few years ago, and I'm currently still with one of them. My ex-boyfriend was manipulative and an emotional bully, not to mention pushed me into physical things that I didn't want to do. His influence caused me to begin working at Olive Garden while during my sophomore year at college, which led to the entrance of my current significant other. My ex was cheating with multiple girls via text over a period of months. Each time I confronted him resulted in a tearful plea of, "I'll change, I love you so much, I can't bear hurting you," after it occurred. After half a year of this, I'd virtually numbed myself to his pleas, but was too afraid of what I'd lost, my virginity, to give up the relationship. Instead, I acted as his transportation since his parents were unreliable and he was trying to finish his high school diploma. He was 1.5 years younger than me. So at Olive Garden, I never expected to find anyone else because of the restaurant environment and was not actually looking for anyone else. My ex also joined working there after quitting a nearby restaurant. He was absolutely crap at his job as a host, often infuriating the managers with his stupidity and lack of common sense. Eventually, I noticed another guy who I called a better and more mature version of the ex, but I was not planning on leaving at that time. My current significant other was sarcastic, aloof from everyone else, and mysterious, which of course attracted me, but I still had some attachment to the ex because I was fiercely loyal to a fault. I regret how I handled the falling out and transition to my current significant other because I did not cut off the ex like most people would have, and how I know I should have. Slowly, I developed an admiration for my SO and felt butterflies in my stomach whenever he was near. It was not a linear upward progression in our initial stages of relationship because even though he hated my ex, he respected the boundaries of a relationship. This changed, however, when he began to realize I was interested in him, and he felt as though he might rescue me from this jerk. I too looked at him as a rescuer. The ex began to notice his attention in me and that his presence was often near me, causing him to purposefully be a butt by leaving dirty dishes on my significant other's table, making inflammatory comments to him, and entering the area whenever he saw SO and I near each other. This became a sort of tango around the restaurant. I knew the ex became agitated by seeing me near my SO, so I would increasingly be around him and then disappear when the ex came into the area. I would still drive him places, but when he prompted me to confirm he and I were in a relationship, I would deflect and never answer straightly. One lonely night, I was texting my SO and he invited me to his apartment to watch a Quentin Tarantino movie. I gladly went and watched the movie with him, but nothing else happened because he was not the type to push, and I had been extremely damaged by the ex's advances to the point where I would later tremble just laying in the same bed as my SO, as a result of my ex. Our texting grew more frequent while I became more dismissive and numb toward the ex. I feared for my SO's safety because my ex is genuinely psychopathic and seemed to blame him for taking me away from him. One night driving my ex home, I knew I had to end it. He was sobbing and wanted me to hold him, but I couldn't stand touching him as I knew it was over. I had to carefully word my sentences so that he would finally leave my damn car. Then one night I found out the ex was stalking my SO. He had followed him to the apartment, which scared me to death knowing he was immature and prone to reactivity. Shortly after, as I left the SO's apartment to go home and had stopped off at a Wendy's drive-thru, my ex pulled up in his truck next to me and rolled down the window, grinning. He then pulled out a military-style knife and informed me it was just in case something happened. This was too close to comfort for me, so I texted his father to let him know what his son had done, causing the ex to be infuriated with me. However, I knew his father would not let that situation happen again. Since then, I've received lovelorn letters about how much I was still thought of, and that even when we are old and grey, he'll still love me. He attempted quite recently to make a friendship pact with my SO to have limited access to me, which he rationally declined. It's been a month since the ex last sent a message over social media that he was moving on and wished me the best. However, I intrinsically know this claim to be false and expect the day when he makes contact again. I don't think I'll ever be rid of him, honestly, unless he falls deeply in love with someone else to where the obsession falls on her. My conclusion of being in a love triangle for a short time was that I was confused, hurt, lonely, and looking for someone to rescue me. But I regret that it happened in a way where I could label it as a love triangle because it was unfair to both parties. I won't deny it's exciting to have two people dance with each other for your affections, but it isn't by any means healthy and at least one of the people will be hurt. After me basically being a butthole for a bit and stringing them both along while I tried to make up my mind, I stopped dating both of them and stayed single for about a year to get my crap together. I think generally if you're caught in a love triangle and don't know who to choose, that's a sign that neither of them is right for you. That is strangely down to earth for a person who was evidently involved in a situation that sounds like it was pretty unhealthy for a while. Good on you for changing, and I hope you keep it up. Married a gay guy. We were non-monogamous. I got really close to a friend with benefits, and now we're a 3. Took a hot mess and nearly 2 years of drama, but we are a functioning poly-triad. We definitely had our moments, but we're still here now, so we do live together and usually share a bed. They can both be complete punks about space and covers, and only one of us actually likes sleeping in the middle, so I occasionally take a break for a night or two. We're not actually non-monogamous, read open. Obviously, I do the deed with more than one person, 2 in fact, but that's just mostly been a crap ton of life stuff going on, including a big move, so that side of our lives has just been sort of on hold. Mine was like some kind of freak love square. 2 guys wanted to date me, and I wanted to date a guy who didn't give a crap about me unless it involved dancing. I gave up on chasing the dancer. I dated one of the guys who originally wanted to date me. It ended badly. I decided to date the other guy who seemed interested. We got married and are expecting a baby now. We were pretty good friends. She wasn't sure if she was into girls and wanted to experiment with someone she trusted. He and I had been dating on and off for 3 years, together for a full year at the time. We'd had a couple of 3-ways, and after a couple of drunken kisses between me and her, we suggested she join us. We worked well together for 6 months, dating each other equally. I was 3 years older than her, and people said we looked alike. Then she got a haircut and a dye job, and she suddenly looked like my little sister. It was not something I was into at all. But he was, and she was. And I pulled back a little, and then it was me versus her, and he chose her. And then dumped her because he wanted her little sister. Her actual flesh and blood little sister. In conclusion, he chose her, she was the younger one, he left her because he was into her little sister. It made me less bitter. He asked her to marry him at my birthday dinner. She said yes, I got drunk, he drove me home. Our D&D group survived the event, and I was a bridesmaid. That's a crap move on his part. I'd been with my ex for 2 years, treated her like the princess that she wanted to be, gave her unconditional trust, which I have now learned was a mistake. She had terrible social skills, so I encouraged her to make guy friends as she doesn't have any. Tried to get her back in contact with one of her long-lost friends from teenage years and encouraged them to spend time together, and I even spent time and got to know the guy to show my girl I have her interests in mind. She ends up doing the deed with him and telling me that they share a pure form of love, something she never had for me. Cried, been depressed, and felt like a worthless piece of crap because no matter what I did, it seems like I don't deserve to be loved. Forgave her, tried to win her back, and gave her patience and time while hiding how much this is killing me inside because she feels guilty to see me like this. End up figuring out she was just a spoiled, selfish brat because she will not stop lying to me and kept seeing him, and he is a manipulative and controlling substance addict, and they both never had a real relationship and told me that they developed true love within a couple of weeks of doing the deed with each other. It still hurts me like heck to think about this, but I really did everything that I could. It didn't end up good for me, fricked me up mentally as I have depression, 0 out of 10 would not recommend. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.